Thinking about selling your business or planning your next big move? Candor Advisors helps founder-led companies navigate complex transactions with clarity, confidence, and real results. With over $1.5 billion in transactions under their belt, they know how to get deals done on your terms. Don't just take the first offer that comes your way. Get expert guidance from people who've been there. Learn more at candor-advisors.com. That's candor-advisors.com. You can also get the link in the show notes.
Here's what's next on the Nice Guys on Business.
If you sleep 8 hours on a plane to Europe, you're going to wake up at 4 p.m. in Europe and you're not going to bed that night.
Right.
No flight to Europe from the East Coast, from the West Coast, it's that long, but you're just going to ruin your circadian rhythm that way, even if you slept the whole night. So you have to actually give someone less sleep so they're tired enough to go to bed that night. So now I need to give them less sleep, but now I need to manage the effects of that also. And then I need to push your circadian rhythm when I need to. I need to pull your circadian rhythm when I need to. And I need to reset not just your central circadian rhythm in your brain, in the sort of suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the part of your brain that runs melatonin production and circadian rhythms, but I also need to do it in the rest of your body, in your gut, in your liver, your stress hormone levels. And so turns out the best tools to do this are meal timing, sleep timing, light, and supplements.
Surely they can't be serious. They are, but don't call them Shirley. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community, get ready to take your performance to the next level, especially if your passport gets used and a lot of action, maybe even more so than your gym membership. I know in my case, that's the case. Today's guest is Andrew Herr. He is a human performance expert whose work has fueled Navy SEALs, fighter pilots, and Fortune 500 execs. He's the founder and one of the minds behind FlyKit, a game-changing system that helps frequent travelers eliminate jet lag, stay healthy, and perform at their best whenever they are on the go. From biohacking travel stress to optimizing recovery on the road, Andrew is here to help us think a little bit more clearly, feel better, and crush it, whether you're halfway across the globe or just around the street. Andrew, I'm excited to chat. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Hey, Doug, it's great to be here. Look forward to sharing some of the things that we've discovered and done for many of people, sounds like your audience, executive CEOs, as well as the pro athletes and Navy SEALs and other fun people I've had the chance to work with in this life.
Yeah, I had a chance to do some research, and the more I was getting into the depth of the research, I was understanding that there was very similar backstory to your product. It was one guy in your market. It sounded like he needed what you thought you could put together, and you put it together. For us as a podcast production company, one guy in our audience, we were in a completely different direction. One guy in our audience reached out and said, "Hey, can you help me with this podcast thing?" So can you tell me about Dave or David and the jet lag story? I'd love to start there.
It was great. I actually ran into David in the airport not long ago, and we got to catch up a little bit. So, I spent 7 years working on human performance issues for the military. And during that time, I was exposed to a lot of cutting edge research, was able to do some work of my own. But fast forward, I'm coaching executives. This gentleman, David, who's a senior executive, he's a senior partner at a law firm, big law firm. So David was a client of mine. I was working one-on-one with him. I already kind of moved out of the military space a little bit. And, he said to me, "Hey, we fly to Korea. We land at 4 p.m. There's a big business dinner that night. And the other side wants to negotiate at 7 a.m. the next morning. And jet lag, they're using jet lag as a negotiating tool. We're getting killed here. Like, what can I do?" And so I was like, "Great, when are you leaving?" He said, "Tuesday." It was Sunday. I said, "No problem. I'll get you something tomorrow." And I had this opportunity to just sit down and I relooked at a bunch of research. I'd already done a lot of work on sleep and circadian rhythms. I knew a lot about how to optimize energy and focus and mood. But when I sat down and looked at it again, I also was able to, bring together over time this unique insight I got from working with Navy SEALs, which was that pressure changes when they dive can cause inflammation.
Yeah.
And then if you know anything about scuba diving, you know that actually when you're not allowed to fly after you dive. Why? Because you can get decompression sickness by flying after you diving. And so these insights were that decompression sickness was largely an inflammatory syndrome, not just the way, these nitrogen bubbles for people who are in diving, but basically diving causes inflammation and the flying could make the inflammation worse. And so in the end, it was able to put together that flying is causing inflammation in people, even if you haven't been scuba diving.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the symptoms of jet lag, it doesn't match to just your circadian rhythm being off. The
Right.
level of brain fog, the level, like your legs swelling up, what does that have to do with your circadian rhythm? People, if you look at the research studies, people get more autoimmune disease relapses. Anyways, there's all these your gut is off. There's all these factors. And so when we put it all together, realized inflammation is causing a lot of the challenges and it's preventing you from resetting your circadian rhythm. So now you also can't sleep. And what's the first order negative effect of not being able to sleep? Inflammation. And so now you're getting this like synergistic problem. So, anyways, I'm sitting there. You have one of those moments in life where, thank God, I see the matrix. I sort of saw how to put it all together.
Yeah.
But the first thing I delivered was not pretty. It was a Word document. At this time do this. At this time do that. At this time do that. And a box of bottles. A box that had a bunch of bottles of supplements in it, and these very ugly blue light blocking glasses. So I deliver it all. I give him the plan. Thankfully, David's the kind of guy who will follow something. And I get an email a couple days later from Korea saying, Andrew, I just slept 8 hours my first night. What did you do? And, that was the start of FlyKit, our jet lag product, was seeing that like, wow, this one, thankfully, if it just hadn't happened to work for him, turns out now it works for about 93% of people. But if it hadn't worked for him, I probably would have just forgotten about it. But it works so well for him. And he felt such an advantage on the business side. So, he's there to run, if they're flying your high-powered lawyers from the US to Korea to do negotiations, there's a lot of money on the table.
Definitely.
And so he felt a huge advantage. His partners are like, what is going on here? How are you able to do this? And so then I started trying this with other people, and it kept working. And it made business travel very different for people. I mean, most of my customers are executives at the beginning, or I guess really even not even customers at that point. These are just people I was doing R&D with, really. They're executives that were doing it for work travel. Some people for doing it for vacations, like, wow, I didn't lose the first 2-3 days of my trip. And so since then, we've built out this product now to really combine cutting edge AI algorithms to be able to customize a plan for every individual, taking in data from your body and from your trip and your sleep cycle. And then we've really optimized the glasses and supplement protocols and recommendation sets. So I mentioned 93% of people can use this and travel anywhere in the world with minimal no jet lag. And then we just ran a kind of pilot program with Inter Miami, the FC, the professional sports team, professional soccer team in Miami. And they did a big round the world trip, 5 games, 4 countries. They literally ended up going all the way around the world to come back. And they saw a 94% reduction in symptoms for people who use FlyKit. So we're really excited, and it's now used by everybody from elite business travelers to people who want to have fun on the trip to military and pro sports. And so we're just really excited to help more people feel great, be healthy, stay fit, stay on the program when they travel.
I want to confirm a couple of things you say because I will 100% agree with you that I feel like I do a lot of cross country travel. A lot of my family lives on the East Coast. I live on the West Coast, so that's a 6-hour flight oftentimes, and my body aches. And I never knew why. I thought it had something to do with the fact that I'm flying, but I mean, my body hurts when I get off the plane. I'm like, maybe it was just the fact that I'm 6'4" and I'm sitting on an airplane in a crunched environment, and then I'm breathing air that probably everybody else is breathing, even though they say they have HEPA filter. The whole thing is going on. So I want to confirm, and again, nice guy community, you think about this for your own travel. Whether you're traveling 3 hours, you're going up to 35,000, 40,000 feet and then back down again, and you feel that little bit of a thud, that little gloom that's in your body. Then I discovered when I traveled to Europe, which is a 7 to 9 hour difference time-wise from where I am, if I spend any time preparing, meaning I'm, drinking a lot less alcohol. I'm drinking more water, doing just some of the common sense things before I leave. I find that my body recovers a lot faster, and I'm able to actually get some sleep when I get there. But I agree with you 100%. It's not just the circadian rhythm that's thrown off. That decompression, that pressurization and decompression is a huge, detriment in the travel process. So definitely agree with you. I want to talk, if we could, about like the components. It sounds like it's a multi-component kit from things like, you mentioned glasses, you mentioned supplements, you mentioned instructions. So there's obviously some tasks that people should be doing. Can you tell me what the components of this kit and instructions are that are included in the in-flight kit?
Sure. Basically, to step back and then I'll sort of fit everything into the framework. You know, when I designed this, I said people are busy, business travelers especially. You're not going to like change your sleep schedule for a week before you travel. It's just like that's not feasible
It's
for
hard. It's
most people
hard.
I talk to.
Right.
Um, and you want to feel great as soon as you get there. And so I said, all right, how do I put everything together so you don't have to change anything before the morning you leave, and you're going to sleep all your first night there? And so to do that, I needed to block the inflammation, keep it low throughout your trip, manage the effects of not getting enough sleep. Why do I say that? Because if you sleep 8 hours on a plane to Europe, you're going to wake up at 4 p.m. in Europe and you're not going to bed that night.
Right.
Now,
Right.
no
right.
flight to Europe from the East Coast, from the West Coast, it's that long, but you're just going to ruin your circadian rhythm that way, even if you slept the whole night. So you have to actually give someone less sleep so they're
Right.
tired enough to go to bed that night. So now I
Right.
need to give them less sleep, but now I need to manage the effects of that also. And then I need to push your circadian rhythm when I need to. I need to pull your circadian rhythm when I need to. And I need to reset not just your central circadian rhythm in your brain, in the sort of suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the part of your brain that runs melatonin production and circadian rhythms, but I also need to do it in the rest of your body, in your gut and your liver, your stress hormone levels. And so it turns out the best tools to do this are meal timing, sleep timing, light, and supplements.
Okay.
And
All
so
right.
we've put together an algorithm that can take in 6 questions about your body. Questions like, if you sleep less than 6 hours one night, how much does it affect you? That actually tells me a lot about your body, more than you might imagine. Caffeine usage. I need to know what time you wake and sleep at home. That tells me your chronotype. It also tells me how far I need to shift your circadian rhythm. If somebody sleeps until 10 every day versus someone who sleeps till 6 a.m. every day, that's a totally different time shift depending on where you're going and what time you need to wake and sleep at your destination. So I'm taking all this data. I take in your flights, and that tells me when you can sleep. You're not going to sleep at your layover in general.
Right.
And it calculates when to eat, sleep, and use the supplements and the glasses in your kit. So what am I doing with eating? I'm working to support your brain and body during the trip. We're recommending typically higher protein, lower carbohydrate meals throughout. And I'm getting you to eat at times that will give you energy, but not interfere with your sleep. I already talked about we need to get you to sleep the right amount. Too little is bad for obvious reasons. You're going to feel terrible. Too much is bad. You're not going to be able to fall asleep that night. We're always optimizing between what we call pain or sleep pressure and the ability to fall asleep that night. And then the supplements are allowing us to block the inflammation. So we use a mixture of an organic pomegranate extract and vitamin C to help block some of this inflammation. We use a very high potency omega-3 fatty acid that helps us keep it low. That also supports your brain throughout the trip. We use a mixture of methylcobalamin, which is the activated form of vitamin B12, and P5P, the activated form of vitamin B6, to push your circadian rhythm forward when I need to. It also lowers melatonin production, helps with energy a little bit when I need it to. We're using a mixture of melatonin and magnesium glycinate to shift your circadian rhythm backwards when I need to. And sometimes, people think of melatonin you take before you go to bed, but sometimes with Flyke, you'll take it in the afternoon because it's really just a timing signal to shift your circadian rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we use what we call a circadian reset. This is a mixture of sugar, which you'd think like you're about health stuff. Like, why are you giving people sugar? Well, I'm giving you a specific dose of sugar plus these activated B vitamins at the right time in your plan to reset your peripheral circadian rhythm, because you get a little bit of an insulin response and it causes your body to reset in a way that helps get rid of the jet lag. And then we turn off any inflammation from that sugar by giving you supplements an hour later. So we're really managing this all as a sort of beautiful concert, along with the blue light blocking glasses that prevent the blue light that can shift your circadian rhythm the wrong direction. Also helps you calm down, and they're designed for travel in a couple of different ways.
I'm sure you've heard the expression, you want to make God laugh, you just tell him your plans, so it's like you have these wonderful plans all laid out. How much flexibility is there in this kit in the event that I get on this plane with the hope that I'm going to be able to get 5 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, and then get on there and it's like, oh my God, I can't sleep at all. And then I'm hitting the, CBD and THC gummies just a little bit just to take that sleep edge off, which I'm sure it's not in your plan at all. But how do you adjust as you are on the fly, or is there no adjusting on the fly?
Yeah, there is. So there's a couple ways. So one, the app can actually adjust for you. You can tell it how well you slept or didn't sleep. And so we can adjust your program from that. But more importantly, it turns out this is going to help you no matter what. Why do I say that? If you didn't sleep well, you're going to have much bigger problem, much more inflammation. You're going to have much worse energy. And actually everything we're doing is going to help you almost in a way even more, because now you got a double whammy.
Got it.
The other cool thing is, the way we do it with the glasses and the supplements and everything else, most people find they can sleep more easily and better on a plane using our product than they could without it. I think part of the reason is, I think the inflammation is one of the reasons people can't sleep sometimes.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely
obviously it's
agree with
uncomfortable. Hopefully you're flying up front and want to lie flat ideally, but still it's uncomfortable. But there's other factors there that are surprising. Like I have a friend who reports that he gets anxious on planes, but not before takeoff. That makes no sense. Anxiety is the worry about something that's about to happen. You should be worried from the second you get on that plane. But he describes that only after they get to cruising altitude you get anxious. And I'm telling you, we've tried it. Like it's actually a physiologic anxiety. Inflammation causes anxiety. And so we can block that in him.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, is there a plan? And maybe this is under development right now, or maybe it's something that we just haven't started the conversation about. Is there a plan to integrate this with some sort of like Fitbit or Apple Health or anything that everybody's wearing the Aura rings and all of that stuff? What's the plan for future for that?
Yeah, so we've definitely looked at wearables. The data would be helpful from the night before, and obviously from your first night's sleep there. Unfortunately, they don't capture well on planes. The vibration and environment there means that the data from sleeping on a plane is useless for at least Aura and Whoop and Fitbit. So we're looking at that for sure. Right now, we allow you to tell us. So if you look at how well it does, you sleep, you could tell us. But we definitely have looked at that and a variety of other inputs. We also are just sensitive that we want it to be as simple as possible for our users. And so if they, we can do an integration, but then if it's like, we have to be careful because the data from the middle of the program may not be accurate. And so there's some challenges there, but we're focused on actually launching a domestic version. So the current fly kit program is designed for international trips where you're shifting, really 4 or more time zones and have a flight of 5 or more hours. But you mentioned your body doesn't feel great when you fly 2-3 hours. And so
right.
Very soon, very shortly, maybe even before this podcast comes out, I'm not sure how quickly you release these, we're launching a domestic product to help people block that inflammation and just feel better when they travel on short trips.
I mean, I think for me, I know that you'll probably get a lot more, you'll have a lot more volume if you have someone that is traveling 3 to 6 hours and or 1 or 2 time zones and just has a problem with just the flight up and down. I just think that generally people get a little bit anxious when it comes to flying. And part of that is, as you just said, sometimes inflammation creates the anxiety. It feels like you're being restrictive. Sometimes it's not necessarily that way, but I'm really curious what results you'll get with domestic travel. Like, could this be something that somebody could pick up on the go as they are just about to board the plane? Do you need a day, 24 hours in which to prepare for this? Do you need 3 days in which to prepare for this? So I'm curious, really, the different varieties, variations that you can come up with, or that would even be feasible.
Yeah, so with the core fly kit, you start the morning you leave, so you don't have to spend days before preparing. But you do start the morning you wake up, so you need it before you get to the airport. With the fly kit domestic product that's coming up, you can grab it. You'll be able to grab it at the airport, and as long as you can get it an hour before your flight, most people are at the airport about an hour before their flight, you're going to be in great shape.
So you come from the world, it sounds like, of doing a lot of high performance and executive coaching and that kind of thing, and you now are in the world of product creation development. So you're dealing with manufacturing and distribution. How much of a turn has your just? I know this isn't necessarily about FlyKit, but it's just about how you've made the transition from one spot to the other in terms of like career goals.
It's been a huge learning curve. I mean, 100%. I mean, I went from a high-end concierge service business to a relatively mass market DTC product business, physical goods product business. I've had to learn 101 lessons, mostly through making mistakes and figuring out and getting help from other entrepreneurs and guidance and the right coaches, the right friends, the right consultants. And so, yes, it's been a big change. I'd say the challenge is like inventory is its own beast,
Oh,
and
sure.
running the business where we have large inventory and cash needs for that is its own beast. And then the second piece is just you know running a business where I'm coaching people, and even where I had coaches working for me, and we're charging $3,000 to $5,000 a month. You can afford to have a team of pretty well paid employees. And in the business I'm in, we need to have a team also of, very blue collar people assembling our products and shipping our products. And doesn't mean they're not high performing. These are fantastic people. We have some incredible people who work for us, but it's just a very different needs
Understood.
for management and the team. And, I think if nothing else, this has given me a lot more range. And I just work to get better every day and set a higher standard for myself every day.
Yeah, I think about it. Our DIY customers are totally different than our full service customers that, have teams of, 10 and 15 people. They have a marketing department, as opposed to the DIY folks that are, usually solopreneurs doing it on their own and don't have a big budget to spend on that. So totally appreciate and respect exactly what you're saying. Same with teammates, whether you're dealing with somebody that's remote and maybe a little less expensive than someone that's working here in the US, but doesn't have the customer facing contact needs as somebody that is here. Yeah, very, very interesting. Totally different dynamic. I'm curious how you might respond to working with someone that would be, let's say, we have two podcasts I'm thinking of specifically. I have Reed Womack, who has a company called Groundlux. He has a podcast called The Grounding Podcast. So obviously a whole different style and product than your product, but it complements your product because I'm sure that he's looking for health benefits. Another podcast called the Healthier Tech Podcast, which is R Blank, and he created a really good company. Do you find that you're going to gravitate towards who is your market, not in terms of like their characteristics, but more in terms of their style? Are you feeling like you are dealing more with a woo-woo side of the world than you are with someone that is like, I don't care about the pain, just show me the baby kind of person, kind of executive? Who are you dealing with when it comes to your product?
Most of our customers are not, all in biohackers. They are people who at least have come to realize that there are things you can do to help yourself in this world with your health.
Right.
So they're not totally in the like nothing works category, obviously. Although we hear, a very common review, a 5-star review we get is, I was super skeptical, but I said, hey, I'll try it. They give a money back guarantee and I'll never travel again without it.
Right.
So these are mostly regular people some of them taking their one big trip a year, others traveling all the time. So we seem to have, these different communities where it's like people who get one big trip a year are very different from people who travel every week. And so we really have both, but there are really people who want solutions. And this is a big learning from me from running coaching business where I really knew people's lives intimately. What I saw was, one, travel is one of the biggest challenges to people's health. And there's a bunch of reasons it throws you off your routine. You don't have the same healthy food if you're trying to eat healthily. You don't know the gym. There's all these challenges.
Right.
And two, even for highly motivated people, you gotta make it simple.
Totally.
Like, there's an app, it's going to give you a notification every time you need to do something. Like, that's where we need to be on this. And obviously where we are as a company, like I'm not going to ask you to do things 3 or 4 days before. You've got a life and you're doing other things and you have a business dinner and you can't go to sleep at 6 p.m. 4 nights before your trip. It's just not reasonable. So anyways, we've really taken that into design because biohackers like our stuff too, but there are 100 or 1,000 times as many regular people, and I want them to get the benefits too.
We had a previous sponsor of the show, and we reviewed a bunch of their products. Tiege Hanley is the name of the and my audience, our community knows we talk about this all the time. We kind of tease about it all the time. Their tagline is uncomplicated skincare for men. It's 5 products. It's too complicated for men. 5 products is too complicated. Give me 2 or 3 products, or don't sell me the idea of it's uncomplicated. If it's saying uncomplicated skincare, I'm like, no, it's kind of complicated in here. What it sounds like is in your case, you have an app. It tells you when you need to do the next thing, and that to me, it's very uncomplicated. It sounds like it's pretty straightforward. As long as you provide the product that the app says you need to do this now, I don't see where there's any issue at all with using the product.
Yeah, and the kit comes with the stuff you need, right? So the kit
Right,
has exactly
exactly.
what you need. So we've really
Right.
made an effort to make it simple. And that's a big part of what we do. And even to the branding, we recently have just been deciding what's going to be the name for our domestic product. Do we want to give it a kind of a like fly kit hop for like a short hop flight or something else? And what we came down to is we're going to call it Fly Kit International and Fly Kit Domestic
Oh,
because
that
it's
makes
just
sense.
descriptive and
Right.
like people will understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to try to be too cute by half.
Understood. Understood. Where in the country are you, Andrew? Where's your company located?
We're based in Southern California,
Got it.
in the beautiful sunshine down there.
I'm probably not too far from you. I'm in a small town called Ojai, California, just south of Santa Barbara, north of Los Angeles. And is that where you actually do the product assembly and fulfillment, or do you do that overseas?
Yeah, so we all the supplements are made in the U.S. In the San Diego area. All the assembly is done in the San Diego area. I'm personally based in Orange County, but I've spent a bunch of time in Ojai. It's a lovely place.
Yep.
But yeah, all the assembly and all the supplements, everything are done in the San Diego area. We think it's important we just don't think it's good to produce supplements outside the United States. I mean, maybe in Europe would be okay, but certainly not in China and other places. And so we do everything we can to source ingredients from the best places and, organic and natural. And then we produce it, assemble it all in California.
I know where I'm going for my next pre-flight or pre. We usually go to Europe once a year. My girlfriend's birthday. She loves to go to Florence, so we do that. But it is a long flight. It's 14 hours,
Yeah.
and it's several time zones, and I think it's like 7 or 8 hours difference. So it is definitely enough to get that ugh feeling going on. And I know sometimes you lose a day, sometimes you don't. There's no rhyme or reason why I do. I'd love to be able to control that a little bit more, so I know what product I will be getting before my next journey out of the country.
Awesome. Well, I love that we're here to make people's lives better. My dharma, my mission is to do it through the health way. I never thought it would be focused on travel, but after working with these executives and seeing what a big challenge travel was, I increasingly feel it's a beautiful place to start, and then we'll expand from there.
Nice, nice. Andrew, is there any questions I'm not asking you that I should be asking so that my community can be even more informed about what you do and how you do it?
Um, I mean, if I think I think you've really nailed all the big ones. I think it's our goal is to make easy to use products. I think the only thing I would say is some of the recommendations out there when you listen to Huberman Lab, listen to others, are mostly right, but occasionally like nuanced ways. Like he's right, but the nuance is important. Meaning like, you normally hear like for jet lag, get light in the morning and during the day at your destination. But it turns out there is actually a part of the day where you don't want to get bright light, even if it's daytime at your destination, because it'll shift your circadian rhythm the wrong way. And so all that to say, like the level of sophistication you need to do it yourself is very high.
Right.
And I love people who do things themselves. So by all means, go do it. But if you want it done for you at a level of sophistication that's the best in the world, like please let us help you.
Yeah, I know. I don't mind buying a product if it means that I don't have to figure it out. I feel like the same with my company. I tell people, look, yeah, you could launch a podcast all on your own. Go to Google and you'll find 7 million ways that you can launch a podcast on your own. But do you want to do it the right way? It's like, okay, this makes sense. If you want to travel correctly and not feel the same feeling of dread on the other side of the flight, hey, FlyKit could be the way to go. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes so that you have it. It's basically flykit.com. There's an extra T on the end of kit. It's pretty simple to remember. I'll put a link in the show notes. And this was cool. I very much appreciate, Andrew, your sharing your story and your level of enthusiasm about what you do. And glad you were able to be here on the show today.
Thanks, Doug. Really appreciate it. Thanks for letting me chat about FlyKit. It's a labor of love. And so really appreciate you and wish you all the best with your work as well.
My pleasure. Thanks. Nice Guy community. Never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Andrew Herr. All of his information about FlyKit will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
Click on the Patreon link in the show notes. And for as little as $2 a month, you can help support the podcast and get access to fun bonus content. That's like half a cup of Starbucks coffee once a month, a grande, double shot, maybe a little flavoring. Thanks for listening. I mean, seriously, you need to cut back on your caffeine anyway.